office, who are going to take us through on their strat plan annual have. And the second one that we filed, those resolutions, colleagues otherwise would not be upfront, have them discussed and check progress against them, and then make follow-up if we have to make a follow-up. So without wasting too much time, from the Honorable Minister this morning.
Received apology.
So we note those two apologies, colleagues. Our hospital at some point, but he's already email advisor standing in PD what entity. At the moment, I recognize the
honorable members of the apologies, Chair.
PD.
What I've actually done is to ensure that all members of my executive team are actually in the meeting documents, particularly the strategic plan and the annual plan, covers all areas of our work, and it is for that reason that
see them and welcome, colleagues. May I ask you just to do a few introductions? And welcome, colleagues. May I ask you just to...
My name is Mkiwe Daman.
Chief Director Operations.
Chief Corporate.
Now you are clear, okay. Thank you so much, welcome. Thank you so much, welcome.
Chair, my name is Paul Matos. I'm the Acting Director, Intake and Analysis.
Thank you so much, welcome. Thank you so much. General, when I saw that roving, I didn't see, initially I didn't see.
Thank you, Chair. I was not there. The Director, and perhaps another member who's in the meeting for our planning, then perhaps is actually the strategic plan and annual plan.
Okay. Over to you, then you may start with your remarks, sir.
Well, Chair, also joined by Admiral Kus. He was actually requested his
to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Welcome the opportunity to interact in terms of our work, our annual plan. But as we indicated, also the complaints that we are dealing with, which presentation will be given by the Chief Director of Operations, Advocate the Chair, with those remarks there.
Okay, she is welcome. Okay, she is welcome. Okay.
Just want to verify that you, okay, 100%. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity, like General Masondo indicated, to brief the portfolio committee on the Office of the two documents. And that is just to ensure that there's no duplication. Strategic plan for the financial year and military veterans of 3 parts. Named Part A, looking at the mandate of the office, the planning period, and then environment and the situational analysis, the outcomes, the annual targets, quarterly targets, as well as resource considerations, organizational imperatives, as well, and including the risks that the office are facing. This is captured quite clearly in the Military Ombud Act 4 of 2012, which states that the office is to investigate complaints lodged in writing by a member of the Defence Force or a person. The Act, we then went to responsibilities as captured in the Act, is that the Ombud must investigate economically, fairly, expeditiously, without fear, favour or prejudice. We must resolve disputes by means and the fundamental rights of members of the Defence Force, establish and maintain an appropriate HR function, and then also establish and maintain function, which you spoke about earlier, the annual activity report. Once we've looked at the key responsibility, the Public Finance Management Regulations Act, PIJA, the Military Ombud Regulations, PIA, as well as the POPI Act. We also, for the 5-year planning, members of and regulatory framework, which gives us the building blocks for our mandate, the national organizational policies, organizational strategy, organizational reports and evaluation, and this is where we report on whether we have achieved what we set ourselves in target for. We do that through our and the NTSF report. Currently, to date, there's been no relevant court rulings applicable to the Office of the Military Ombud. We do note that that might change. Second part of the presentations, which focus on the strategic environment, the vision remained the same as per the previous cycle. Also, a world-leading, independent, and impartial ombuds institution. We do not fix what is new and expeditious complaints resolution process for serving and former members of the SANDF and the public to promote good governance, which were court and integrity remained as was. The organizational environment, this is just to give the top pictures just to and then the Force Council remained the same, and there's been no changes or amendments to it. The total structure of the office consists out of 89 posts, of which 59 focuses on the core business, the operations environment, where the complaints are handled, and then the remaining 22 addresses this. We also look then at the analysis, and the key factors is an analyzing. That is the contribution to the national imperatives of government. We will continue to support them. The medium Ds, outcome 6, a capable, ethical and development state, and then outcome 7, a better African world. We will also continue to support the National Development Plan, the Nation Address, as well as the African Union Agenda. The challenges that to support all the guidelines and prescripts provided to us. From a social perspective, we looked at the employed via the SESETA program, and we are currently sitting with 4 as 2 of the members already found greener pastures. Good luck, good to them. We're also looking at the synergies, the increase of compliance submitted via all the factors that's now impacting on us, as well as the stakeholder perception survey that we are implementing at the ICT development and the 4th industrial revolution. Continuous time is in time. Then that we've established a liaison forum between the office and the chief SANDF office, which deals with matters that has not been approved or in recommendation phase, where we need to sit around the table. We also looked at the fact, as prescribed in the Act, monies that needs to be appropriated by Parliament, which the factor that the Minister on 25 October 2019 as the head of the department and accounting officer in the of the Military Ombud Act, the implementation of the terms and conditions of staff of the Military Ombud without hindrance, the adoption of the DoD financial management system, human resource system, supply chain system, and any other system to give effect to directives 1 and 2 above, and the policies or decisions where those are not in line with the policies or decisions of the military. In terms of employees, that needs to be strict treasury requirements. Part of the presentation, the measuring of our performance, where we as an office implemented the new framework as established by reformalized our process, and the public are resolved fairly, economically and expeditiously in a manner that good administration and governance is ensured within the compliance environment, which the outcome reads fair, economic and expeditious resolution of written complaints. Our indicator, how we will measure the Office of the Military Ombud indicator are made up out of 3 sub-indicators, which addresses the simple compliance, complex compliance, and accountable and effective governance of the Office of the Military Ombud. And this is the percentage of Military Ombud accountability documents submitted in accordance with national prescripts. And like we said, the baseline is 100, as well as the 5-year target. This one addresses all the documents like the APPs, the SPs, the quarter, 73%, and then the accountability documents remains on 100%. We will comply fully. For our written compliance, our quarterly target indicators, so we only have 1 annual target, namely the first one being the 100% for Q1 for the annual activity report and the quarterly report. Second quarter, we've got a quarterly report due. Third quarter, we've also got a quarterly, and then fourth, planned performance over the 2025 medium-term strategic resolved in a fair, economic, and expeditious manner. For the 4 strategic plans and annual that are aligned to the mandate and the core activity as explained, the written compliance, accountability documents. In support, directly contribute to the files. Outcome 2 will also focus then on medium term. This is our that office is 55,202 million was given to the office, and of that 45, 11 is to address our COE. One of the main cost drivers for the office, as captured in the APP, was the S&T environment and international visits. So it's bigger than just the plain S&Ts as we know it. Then the other cost driver is also the implemented as we planned for. Imperatives that we looked at that's driving the office, and we looked at the strategic direction renewal. And the main focus for the office for the year reporting would be the turnaround time for resolution of complaints. We will also ensure that we improve internally, externally, all over for the long-term goal, for the effective and efficient management of all guidelines, and then lastly, institutionalization of the approved core and support values of the office. Lastly, sir, we as an office identified, and then one is a new risk that we identified. The 2019 risks are still the Military Ombud Act, which does not officer. And then the second act to the credibility of the Military Ombud to deliver the risk response that we have prepared, including radio interviews to promote the image and clarity and clarify the mandate and engage with stakeholders to ensure that the Minister of Defence and Military, so to ensure the implementation of this, the Ministerial Director. And then lastly, the new risks that we've identified in the 2020. Numerous requests were submitted to the DoD explaining that the allocation did not fulfill the requirement with regards to the number of staff posts. And that is the end of our summary of our documents. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, Chair, honorable members, perhaps just to emphasize the fact that the approach to have taken in terms of if you look at the document themselves, those the part on the mandate and the focus areas say
your line, General.
Closer to my mouth. I don't get it. So I was explaining the approach we have been then through the presentation that.
All right. No, thank you so much. Colleagues who may want to raise before we move. Right, Mr. All right, let me just take. Hello.
Chair, if you can note me as well, please, Dennis.
Shelembe.
Shelembe, Thabo Motlha. The second round, ma'am. All right. So you are first in the second round. Let me start with you, Mr. Mare. Mr. Mare, Raita, Shelembe, and Mr. Motlha.
I want to, boil it down to a few practical questions and comments. The first one is obviously what I just want to know exactly assume that because we're working with professional people in terms of both investigation and from a legal perspective, that is a real problem. But if they can maybe other resources like technology, ICT, access to people, travel. So there's a number of things that I can think of that might be part of resource. Also for me, about the powers and the jurisdiction of the military ombud, and then obviously, whether the challenge to is that any individual in the Department of Defense, or is it only the SANDF, and is it only they are restricted only to of the executive? And then, because that can be an embarrassment to them if they, in terms of compliance, they can only make recommendations, and they cannot. It has been reported that there was questions been asked that we give them the teeth and the muscles to be able.
Thank you so much, sir.
What you do. I have 3 short questions. The first one relates to the mandate, and specifically, do you see this in practice, a dual role shared with them? Expenses exceed the budget. I don't know if this is legal really, but that the budget actually reflects some sort of reality, and that we are trying to find each other on those 3 things. Then the third matter relates to the cases that you investigate. It's the same sort of stuff that the Defence Force Service military for investigation. If you can just tell me how many cases are up against members of the military.
Thank you, Chairperson. My question will relate to the mandate of the military. Complaints are resolved in effect in have on the functioning of the interns. If say the budget, I think that I would like to know from where members of the Department of Defense were done. Then done because normally that person, when it comes to the office of the Ombud doing, in that case where the Department of Defense would say, we can take you back because of your unfair dismissal, but we cannot reinstate you to the post. We mean that, I think there should be a vote. If a person say is dismissed, what is lodged to the Ombud has taken a decision on the matter. I just want to know now, what is the legal, but how do we make this thing,
Thank you. I lost Honorable Muslim. All right.
Yeah, Chair, I'm troubled by...
Yes, you may go ahead.
All right, thanks. I've got few questions to them. Basically, the first one is with regard to their targets. They've presented, we must measure their performance on the basis of any targets. They've removed targets. They don't have a target for... If there's any policy document that they will be developing, so forth and so on, there is absolutely revolving around only these 2 targets for the entire financial year. Maybe if they can share with the committee why they have removed, why have they removed those? Why are they left with 2 targets? Nothing related to HR plan, nothing. So my second question to military ombuds is to check that we are faced with, and in relation to what they have presented there as their organizational structure, where they indicate that the total employee, I think, structure it's around 89. All those posts, 89 posts being dropped a little bit, to what an extent is it going to affect them in terms of dealing with that structure or feeling that particular structure? And if there are interns that they are utilizing as an ombuds, to what an extent I think then come back later if there's a need.
The delegate, the colleagues.
Welcome, may you record apology?
General, over to you. There's echo. I don't know where, on which side.
Very bad. It's very bad.
Yeah, echo. Can you switch off your mic, General, so that I want to do this by elimination. The echo is on their part. Since echo in the background. Can your IT team, General, attend to the problem, please? We also experienced the same problem when you're present. Yes, can you try, General? I can still hear some bit of it, but let's see how intense it.
On the comments, my response to the questions posed by Honorable Mare. The first one is to our compensation rates, and further extends starting also mentioning in our reports that the staff complement that we are required to pay for the office only staffed to the level of 63 posts. It was our thinking that given that we are not fully staffed according to the full structure, at least in terms of compensation of budget, we should be allocated sufficient money to pay members of the office that have been trying to fund payment. Because our operational budget, top up the budget for compensation of employees, where if it comes to the second question in terms of powers and jurisdiction of the office, which with complaints from members of the SANDF and former members, including members of the public, jurisdiction only resides within the SANDF members. Perhaps sometimes there's confusion. It's also perhaps important for me to point out that deal with that with only our office only making recommendation on the minister. But I need to point out that we assume that the minister herself contacted that our recommendations must be actually instructs us to actually change the recommendation. Will be this issue being covered on the personality of the chair. Will have to. We have written here to grant us authority to actually become members during this time of effectively dealing with the complaints. Then the authority look at. Coming to questions from Honorable Ryder, where looking at our mandate and therefore he says commission. Look at the conditions of members of the SANDF and make sure that where these are inadequate, at least their aims and all that. Whereas from our office were, and therefore whether we implemented correctly by the department, dissatisfied with the manner in which their issues are handled. So I know maybe there may be confusion in terms of as well with visiting units, where things with them in terms of. We can also discuss those with us in the SA of their work as the service commission, the members, except looking at those complaints with the view to coming up with a recommendation in terms of how the conditions of service, in terms of our budget and the fact that expenses exceed actually the budget. Giving very little money in the area of the operational budget. And of course, some of the things that we need to do as an office, sometimes we are not able to do them because of the operational is of the office, in terms of our work and what is finally allocated. And the last question by the office, I think particularly pertaining to the conduct of SANDF members. In this respect, therefore, Honorable Chair and members, I want to indicate that the number of complaints that as an office we have received, that those complaints are at various stages of investigation. And I think follow-up presentations that will be made, that will be actually be more visible. Can you still hear me, Chair? Continue, Chair. The next set of questions are from Honorable Shalembe, with the first one looking at the impact and also actually the utilization of terms within the offices. As I've were not able to effectively embark on the activities that were planned as an office. And I want to point out to this, really make sure there's a general awareness and an understanding in the F members, but of the programs, direct and the additional challenges that the next issue unfairly dismissed, and particularly in the positions in which they were as an office, we realized that members were unfairly reality of the situation, and somebody would then find that somebody was not. It's sufficient to say that person must be reinstated and leave it to the SANDF to actually find an appropriate of expeditious resolution of complaints, and also with the focus on fairness, not only looking at the complainants themselves, but looking at the defense as well. First, I want to indicate that that is required by the office and resolve that we have established. Also, since my appointment, they need to assist us in terms of timelessly providing us with the information that we require, so we can comply with the provisions of our Act in terms of ensuring that we deal with complaints expeditiously. Because so that we don't come with recommendations that are difficult to implement, even if there is willingness from the part of the SLA comprehensively. We the recommendation we made. The first one is both our strategic plan and in this honorable mood that we have not completely done away with the other targets. The other targets that were there, yes, annual report, actually captured in our operational internally. And finally, our operational report, the targets that are there in the annual plan. impacted by COVID-19, impacts in terms of operations, will not be able to do those international bodies